Win some Proline tyres, win some Proline tyres, or you can win, get this puppy out of here, a winch. And it even comes with its little worn sticker. How cool is that, eh? So guys, that's going to be this year's competition. Some guys need tyres, some guys need a winch. Write me in the comment which of the two you need, and I shall put you in the draw. Now let's get back into today's video. So it is drizzling outside and it's a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm glad I'm in the shed. So it's time to start the video. On this week's show, we're going to be doing suspension setup, wheelbase setup to get the next level performance out of your trucks. Can be any truck, doesn't necessarily have to be a TRX4. I'm going to be doing it on the TRX4 platform today, but it can be an old Axial AX10. I've had this for 17 years. I've done some of these mods on this truck and the performance has increased intensely. The performance is just so much higher than it used to be, and I am going to be doing it on one of my Class 1 trucks that I'm building at the moment. I haven't shown this on the channel yet. I'm busy waiting for parts, and once these parts are here, we are going to get into the build of this little truck as well. Now, first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be changing the back links on the TRX4 so that we get a longer wheelbase. So let me clean the table a little bit and get you guys closer to the magic. All right, let's clean up. I'm going to take the Axial AX10 away because it sits on a complete different chassis, and we'll just be concentrating on our ladder chassis setups. I'm going to leave this ladder chassis here for now and get some tools and take this apart. Okay, let's get the body off of the TRX4 and I can show you what I have done on the truck. A little bit difficult, jammed up a little bit inside here. Come on, I got you. Good. Put that body aside and let's look at the side of a truck for a minute. So first of all, I'm going to take one of the links out, one of the back links, and show you what I've done on that. Let me just see if this fits. No, obviously not. Always choose the wrong one. So to get a bit more performance out of your truck, you need to have a longer wheelbase. So I took all the 4 links out. The TRX4 has a 4mm and a 3mm link, but the threads are all the same. So it's just an outside diameter, which is a bit bigger, so don't be fooled by that. The threads and the windings are the same on the upper links and the lower links. So what I've gone and done is I am basically, this is such a simple little mod. Either you can go and buy your links, or what you can do is you could, let me just unscrew this link that I've built here myself. You can just buy a 4mm winded rod with an aluminium tube that fits over it perfectly. So this is what I've gone and done. I've cut myself my threaded bar to the right size. Oh, don't want to be losing my little screws on the side here. Let me just push them to the side. Okay, so if you look at the length of this bar and this threaded rod and the original link, it's a lot longer. So what I've gone and done is I've cut myself this aluminium tube, and it is at a length of exactly, let me check that, 10 centimeters. So I've cut a 10 centimeter tube, measured my threaded windings that I need that can actually catch onto the link itself, and extended the threaded bar by that distance. So now I can just take my link and screw it directly on there because the threaded bar is the same diameter. It's also a 4mm diameter as the original link. And let me just tighten that on there quickly. There we go. And on the TRX4, the link is offset. So make sure when you create your new link that that offset sits the same. Now this is one that I built. You can obviously buy a kit that you can extend your wheelbase. So in total, these are my inner links and these are my new outer links. I am looking, or basically what you are looking for is a wheelbase over 31. So I'm going for over 33 centimeters. So from center axle to center axle, I actually want the longest wheelbase that I can get without changing my prop shaft. I'm going to be using the same prop shaft. If you go longer, if you go on to 36 to 38, it starts to look weird, and then your chassis just bottoms out in the middle. So if you're on 33 to 35, I think you're still in a good range. You can go longer. I have a guy riding with us, I think he's over 38. He's 38 point something centimeters. So I'm going to be staying around 33 on the TRX4. I want to be a little bit over 33. So that's why I cut my links a little bit longer. On the bottom links, I've also gone and just kinked it. It doesn't need a big kink, because what actually happens is that the prop shaft then kind of looks out below it, if you know what I mean. If you kink it too much, the prop shaft just looks out way too far. So if you give it a little kink, they might just be in line. So I've given a kink. I don't even know how many degrees this is. I just eyeballed it, and I went, okay, let me just cluck, and I've eyeballed both of them to be the same. So my bottom links have got a slight kink to it, and the top links are straight. So now with these, I'm going to just measure from center to center. My link is now, I just have to do this without my glasses on, just a second. So the length of my link now is exactly 14 centimeters. So my lower link is exactly 14 centimeters from the center to the center, from link to link, and the upper links are 2 millimeters longer. They're just a slight bit longer than the lower links, partly because I put a kink in it. It obviously shortens it by probably a millimeter, but I want the axle to be looking up towards the prop shaft, not that it's looking down. So that's why I kind of measured around and fiddled around, and I made about 3 upper links before I came to the conclusion that I need 2 millimeters longer on the upper link than the lower link. Anyway, let me install that quickly, and then we get on to the next upgrade. So basically what you're left with now is you have a longer link in the back, and the axle has moved back a couple of centimeters. And you just need to make sure that your prop shaft is still long enough. If it's not long enough, you need to go get yourself a new prop shaft. So now my truck measures a wheelbase. So from center axle to center axle, it is 33.8. So I'm almost on 34. Now, I kind of have to adjust my body to that, obviously, because of how the wheels are sitting. You kind of have to cut it out a little bit. So what I've done on the body, I've moved it back as far as possible, and I've cut out the front so that I have a better angle of attack. The bumper is sitting in as far as possible, and all the weight that was on the back of the truck, I've literally moved it to the front of the truck. And I know you don't need a sound box, but I am running a sound box also for the channel. It's not just that I want this high performance. I also want to give you guys a little bit of entertainment. So I'm still running the sound box, but I got rid of my heavy spare wheel, and I've replaced it with a hollow gas can. I've 3D printed this little hollow gas can, which almost has no weight. I've 3D printed the little fan and painted it a little bit, put some cables on it to make it look real. If I am able to connect this to the receiver, there's actually light running through this, because this used to be an old charger cable that doesn't work anymore. So getting all the weight, or as less weight as possible in the back, and pushing all the way to the front. And obviously I am also running weighted wheels. So I have wheels inside, no, weights. So I have weights inside the wheels, but I don't have any brass knuckles or anything like that, which probably would be still a good upgrade for this truck. Like I said, I'm waiting for parts for this next build, but maybe I'll add in a few brass knuckles just to keep the front axle down. Now, also what you want to do is, if we compare these two trucks, you can see that this chassis here, our links are running down at an angle. You don't want that. You want the truck, basically, you want your links to be almost level to the ground. So your truck should be sitting about there. So that's what I've done to the TRX4 platform, where if you look at this from the side, and I kind of just drop the chassis down, you see the links are level as they can be. And if I push down on the truck, you see I hardly have any suspension at all. There is such little suspension left in the truck. But in the rear, I still have a lot of droop and also a lot of axle twist. In the front, I don't have that because there's a spring sitting on the inside of the shock absorber. Let me show you how I did that. Also, I wanted to just quickly say why I kinked these links. When the truck is actually standing in an obstacle, in a very high obstacle, I have seen trucks where the bottom link is pushed up to the top, or as high as possible to the top, or this plate is being changed and it sits at an angle. So some trucks have the bottom link sitting a little bit higher up, and I'm thinking with this bend I might be getting a little bit of a push to not wheelie the truck too early, and with a straight link I might get that a little bit sooner. Don't know if that's true, but in my head, something that is pushing at a curve, it might work. I don't know. Maybe it's in my head. That's that's how I'm thinking. Why the kink might help me push that chassis into the obstacle instead of wheeling it out. So obviously the low suspension will prevent it from wheeling too soon. And also with the setup with the little spring in the front, it doesn't allow the droop of the axle, of the front axle. So the front axle actually doesn't move a lot. I've literally taken away the droop of the front axle as much as I can. So I think it only runs on 1/3 of what it used to do. So the shock absorber only runs on 1/3 articulation. So when I'm in an obstacle, I don't get the chassis weighting literally out of the obstacle and causing me to flip over. Because the shock absorber cannot move, it keeps the chassis tucked in on the obstacle. And I'll just take this apart and I'll show you what the little trick is inside the shock absorber. So I have opened the shock, taken the bottom link off. I'm just going to push the shaft up and try and catch it at the top. And here I have the spring. You need to close the hole with your finger so that the oil doesn't run out. Now this spring is exactly 1.6 centimeters. You can make it a little bit longer, probably make it 2 centimeters. So this is out of a pen, just a normal ballpoint pen. And all you do is you slide this over. You take the spring, slide it over the shaft, and put it into the shock absorber. Pulling it out. Now it is blocked. So now the shock is limited to the droop. You can also put a stopper in there, like a little tube, a plastic tube, that it doesn't move at all. But I prefer a little spring so that at least I still have a little bit of movement in the shock itself. Then you just fill it up with your shock oil again and close it. That's about as perfect as I want it. So it's always pulling the shock back together. Let's put the spring back on. So now in all, the shock doesn't have a lot of movement, if you can see what I mean. And that keeps the front of the truck planted in the obstacle. So now our shocks, our front shock absorbers are tweeted and the rear are not. The rears don't have the spring in them, but I think in the long run I'll try this little trick in the rear springs as well, to just keep the truck on the obstacle, on a very high climb obstacle, to just keep it on the obstacle without flipping over. Now the next important step comes on the rear shocks. You're trying to mount them, or not to mount them as high as the front shocks. The front shocks can be mounted as high as possible in the highest position that your shock tower allows. I still have the original TRX4 shock mounts in here. I've changed them back from there was a flex kit in here. The flex kit and the panhard rod, it was just too low, so the panhard rod literally jammed out on the axle before the axle went into the low suspension. Now with the original setup, the axle can actually go into the low part of the suspension, and this is kind of what you need. Your performance needs to be in this area. It doesn't need to be high. High just makes you tip over. You want the truck to sit as low as you can get it. And with that, with the rear shocks, you mount them on the lowest point that you have on your shock tower, and maybe a little bit forward, so that they don't have a long travel to bottom out. You want them to bottom out literally in the first centimeter. You don't want to have a 2 or 2.5 centimeter travel before you bottom out, because what that does to your truck on an obstacle, it makes the chassis move too much. As the shock absorber goes into the spring, the chassis, the angle of the chassis changes and you lose your balance. So you do not want that movement on the rear axle. So that's why you set your truck up. You set your truck up as low as possible, so there's hardly any suspension. Oops, I just moved the whole table. So that there's hardly any suspension in the chassis at all. I can still try and get a little bit less out of this. I'm going to push these shocks or the springs to the highest point, so that there is really not a lot left. I'm going to do that to the front axle as well. I'm going to get this front axle as low as possible, so that we have even less suspension left in the chassis. So this is not even 0.5 centimeter. The front axle, it's still a bit more. I'm going to just take these springs up a little bit higher. Okay, let's see how much I have now. Yeah, that seems good. I'm going to do a little bit more, because I want as little movement in the truck as possible. There. That is where I want the truck to sit. So front shock absorbers as high as possible, rear shock absorbers as low as possible on your shock towers. So now let's get to the body. Because after you've done this, your body's going to be it's just not going to look right. So you've got to place your body, move your body back, move the bumper and the winch back as far as you can, so that your angle of attack is as big as possible, that you don't get hooked up on rocks. And with that, your body moves back, so all the body mounts and everything have to change. I've got these little rock sliders that have 5 holes in them, and with that I can actually just drill new holes and get the body into the position where I want it. So my conundrum kind of on this project was placing the body in the position where the winch sits, but I wanted the bumper to be as far in as possible, so the bumper actually doesn't go further in. That's the furthest it can go. So that doesn't leave me a lot of space for my body to slip in. So what I've done is slip the body over the front part of the winch and then set up where my body sits on the truck. So I have a little bar at the back here that runs kind of with the fenders that keep the fenders tucked in, and I kind of need to just now make sure. Now the back plate sits on the outside. It used to sit on the inside. The aerial used to be on the outside of the truck. Now it sits on the inside of the truck. Now let me just slide all of that in here. Okay, there we go. That is looking quite neat. So the way the body sits on the truck right now, I'm sure you've noticed that I've cut out the fenders in the front. I've left the rear section. I've just literally gone a little bit higher and cut it out as far as I need it to be, so that I still have perfect steering in a full articulation. Now everything else, the way the truck sits right now, the rear wheels are fine. I don't have any rub on that because the wheels, they just don't go further than that because the way the truck has been set up. Now all I need to do is fasten the back and put all my little screws in here, and the truck is ready to go. These screws, they are self-tapping screws and they screw directly into the 3D printed body. So this is what my truck looks like at the moment. Everything put together. You can actually see now that the body is on here, there's even less suspension, and with less suspension and a harder front axle, you can do higher climbs. You can sit in that rock, that truck will just stick, it won't slip, it won't fall to the side or anything. Your side hilling is a lot better with this setup. So all in all, the truck has a high performance. So this is like next level setup where you can enter competitions and you'll be happy with your results at the end of the day. You're not going to be so frustrated because you can't make an obstacle. So basically what you're doing, try and keep your weight as low as possible. If you are able to change your motor mounts or anything to get that weight just a little bit further down, you can do that as well. Change your battery. I'm still running a 3300 milliamp battery, quite a large one. You could put it in front. In my case, I'm still running the what do you call it, the DS Dual Plus sound box in here, so that's why I don't really have space in the front, and I'm still running my large battery pack. But on the next video, we'll take this on the trail and I'll show you how sure I am when this truck is sitting in a climb on a big obstacle, that it actually just stays there. I can play around, I can try a different line, I can move it over to the left and the right, go backwards and then try go forwards again. The truck actually listens to everything that I'm trying to do and clear the obstacle, whereby before it'll just slip down, or it'll fall over, it'll roll backwards, it'll roll sideways, and it just wouldn't have that grip. The front axle will droop out and you just lose your balance. So now with this setup, I've already driven this truck with this setup and it is a massive difference, and the frustration is all gone, and I am able to not just roll with the big guys, I am almost better than the big guys. There's just one truck in my group that is better than this truck. So in the future, this is the setup for me. This is the setup that I'm going to be doing on all my trucks, all the new builds that I've got coming up. I'm going to start off with this setup because I know I'm going to get a very high performance base truck out of it. and especially when you're running a new truck, you don't want to immediately damage it because it's constantly doing something wrong. So I've changed the Axial AX10, I've changed the TRX4, I've changed my MB scaler, and all the trucks have got really good performance. They're all a little bit different. I think the highest performance is with the TRX4 platform. So with that said, I'm coming to an end. That's it for me for this week. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.